Hi, it's Alison Canavan, and you are so welcome back to Mindfulness with Alison. Today, I want to look at anxiety, that word that we all fear, and pretty much a word that everybody has heard, everybody has experienced in some shape or form. So, my personal story, which is where I always like to start from, I had anxiety from a very young age. I had anxiety about traveling, I had anxiety about being on my own, I had anxiety about being in social situations, and it presented in so many different ways. When I was really young, I never really spoke about it, and it was about 25 years ago, and we did not talk about mental health the way we do today. I didn't know there was a word that existed called anxiety, quite frankly. I just knew that I had overwhelming feelings that completely took over. So in the first few years, it would manifest as an inability to breathe. My palms would be really sweaty, my heart would palpitate. I would feel very much out of control of how I was acting, who I was, not very comfortable in my own body. I thought it was fear of flying, fear of different things. As time progressed, I was medicated for it, and it helped to a degree. But to be honest with you, it didn't solve the problem because I was never really getting to the root cause of what was causing these feelings within me. One of the things is, for myself, that I have found is that anxiety is worrying about the future. It's worrying about things that might never happen. It's constantly being in a state of stress, and it manifests completely different for everybody. So there's not one right or wrong way to experience anxiety. There's not one set of tools or rules that also work for people. It really is, like everything in the space of wellness, it's about finding what works for you. Also trusting that you do know yourself better than anyone else. So I would absolutely suggest working with a therapist or working with a practitioner who understands and knows how to navigate the choppy waters of anxiety, but also really tuning into yourself to figure out, does breathing work for you? Does exercise work for you? Does food work for you? And very often you'll find that it's a lot of things that you bring together, like almost like a formula that really helps you to bring down the anxiety in your life and eventually bring it under control. So for me, it's changing how I live. And now today, I'm stronger than ever. That's why I'm wearing a t-shirt today. So for me, it was understanding how anxiety presented for me. And I used to deal with it in a lot of ways. I used to drink my way through it. So anytime I felt any anxiety. So if I was going out to a social situation and I was standing in a bar, having a couple of glasses of wine is what worked. But you can't always rely on external factors. You can't always rely on taking the pill, having the drink, because then you're not in control. You're always looking for something outside of you to bring you that sense of ease and calm and comfort. Eventually, I was led to a place of no return, where I had been hospitalized a couple of times for anxiety, where I genuinely felt like I was having a heart attack. And I remember being in New York and saying to my boyfriend, you need to take me to the hospital, I'm having a heart attack. They put me on heart monitors, my heart was palpitating, I felt like I was going to die, and it was a chronic anxiety attack. Anxiety can manifest and be incredibly scary for somebody who's experiencing an attack of that extremity and to that degree. And it has to be brought under control, and it can do it in so many different ways. One of the most powerful tools I learned very early on was using the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. And it's, first of all, looking at 5 things you can see. So when you notice the symptoms of anxiety coming on for you and catching them as early as possible, go 5 things I see. So looking around the room, here I see colored cups, essential oil, a candle, a picture, and a light. So 5 things you see, 4 things you can touch. So I can touch the floor, I can touch the cushion, I can touch my jeans, I can touch my bracelets. 3 things you can hear. I can hear the sound of my own voice. I can hear the wind in the chimney. And I can hear the sound of silence. 2 things that you can smell. I can smell the essential oils I put on from earlier. And I can just smell the air in this room. And then one thing you can taste. And I just bring my attention to my mouth and I can just taste whatever sensation is in my mouth at the time. This helps to bring you back into the present moment and into your body. And it takes you out of focusing on the feelings that can get us carried away that anxiety brings. So instead of focusing on the sweaty palms, the heartbeat, the panic that's rising inside of you, it brings you back into the present moment. Another thing that I have found really, really powerful is breathing techniques. And Andrew Weil, Dr. Andrew Weil, you should look him up on the internet. He's incredible. And he has a technique called the 4-7-8 breathing technique. This is a breathing technique that I started doing many, many years ago when my anxiety was at an all-time high. And the one thing to remember with breathing techniques is you don't use them when you're having an attack. You use them consistently every single day to help prevent an anxiety attack. So we're all about consistency and prevention. It's the small things that you do every single day that help you to cope with life. So if you know that you're someone that struggles with anxiety, well then show up every day, first thing in the morning, get up and do some breathing. So with the 4-7-8 technique, you use your tongue in the yogic tongue. So you have the tip of your tongue just at the upper roof of your mouth behind your teeth. And you're going to breathe in for 4 with your tongue there. Breathe in for 4 through your nose. You hold for 8 and then you release the tongue and you breathe out through your mouth for the 8. So I'll just do a demonstration. So put our tongue to the roof of our mouth. Breathe in for 4. Hold. And release. So breathe in for 4, hold for 7, release the tongue and breathe out for 8. Once you get into the habit of doing this, it's super simple. You start off by doing it 4 or 5 times, and I would repeat it 2 to 3 times during the day. You can do the 4-4-4 breath where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. If you're able to sustain it for longer, 6-6-6. Breathing helps to tone down the central nervous system, to help bring your sympathetic system back into alignment, which is your stress response. Most of us are in fight or flight all the time. A lot of us are in the stress mode pretty much all day without even realizing it. And the world outside of us very simply does not support us working on ourselves. And that's something that we really need to understand. So it is our job to work on ourselves and make sure that we try and keep our stress as low as possible and understand that very often all of these things that we're worried about, A, are not that important in the grand scheme of things, and B, most of the stuff we worry about will never, ever, ever happen. One of the things that I find really helpful is that when I'm really stressed about something and I'm really worried, and I'm a worrier by nature, and I just worry about things all the time. I worry about people, I worry about bills, I worry about work, I worry about everything. And I've learned to keep myself in check by asking myself this question. In 3 months' time, will what I'm worrying about even be relevant in my life? In 3 years' time, will what I'm worrying about matter at all? And it's very rare that the answer is yes. And when you bring that kind of mindset and thinking and reframing into the picture, we very quickly see that a lot of the stuff we're worrying about doesn't really warrant that sense of worry. Worry pulls us out of the present moment, and it really pulls us out of enjoying life as it is. But that doesn't mean that anxiety is not real, because it is real. And it is very real for a lot of people who are struggling right now. But please remember that there's so much you can do to help yourself. There's so much you can do with exercise, with diet, with taking out those sugary, high processed foods which don't help with anxiety. One of the things I had to get rid of when I had anxiety, and when I feel anxiety creep in nowadays, I get rid of coffee straight away. Things that don't help me, I have to get rid of. And this is what we all have to do. This comes back to what I always say to people is personal responsibility, finding what works for you. So find that sweet spot for yourself when coping with anxiety, but know that it's how you show up every single day and putting the practices in place that are going to help you stay out of that stress state. When you're feeling good, that's the most important time to do these practices. Very often people only do these practices when they're feeling depressed, feeling low, not having a good day and really struggling with life. But when you're feeling good, it's really important to do these practices because we're training ourselves into awareness. We're training our mind, body and spirit to think and live differently in the world. And I promise you, you will get your anxiety under control. If I can do it, anyone can do it.